Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel. Thank you for swinging by and hanging out with us on this discussion 24, 23. Okay, 23. I always want to jump ahead. Discussion 23. And wow, can I just say wow? Chrys and I jumped into these, again, we were having these discussions because our desire is to expand, and our consciousness and awareness and understanding, and move more fluid with that understanding. And it's turned into this amazing journey, for less of a better word there, with the whole family here. And so thank you for being with us on this journey and in these discussions. And today, I wanted to talk about what I guess about something that I have talked about since I can remember. And so since I don't remember my childhood, I'm still talking over 40 years. I've been saying this to people in one way or another without maybe having like the exact language, right? And that all this other thing that we talk about, people talk about going to heaven. When you die, you go to heaven, or there's other universe, there's this and that, and there's ghosts, there's this and that. And I always said, well, it's right here. It's right here. We just can't see it. We can only see in part. What we literally live under this cloak, right, of this cloaking that we can't see. And if we could see, you guys would look outside right now and be like, whoa, because you'd see all the elementals playing around and doing their thing out there, and making sure Mother Earth is running properly and everything's cohesive, and they're doing their job. And then you have all the spaceships that are right there that are visible, but right now they're not visible to us. We can't conceive it, so we can't see it. Once you begin to start conceiving the idea, it kind of does pull you out of that, which Chrys is going to tell us a little more about the statistics here, out of that part, our 4% of what we can see. It starts to pull us in, and we're starting to see outside that initial percent that we all see from. Psychic mediums, clairvoyance, you're stepping, I call it in the in-between, but literally it's not the in-between, it is the thing, it is everything. It's just stepping beyond this cloak that we're under, the veil, or so to speak. But how much can you imagine? Because all the things we've been talking about and discussing and moving through, and the healing and the overcoming and like that, how much could we do this better if we could just see a little bit more through that veil, right, of things? So, Chrys, I'm going to hand it over to you. I know you have some of the statistics there.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So really what I wanted to say back to you,
Okay.
probably what you're describing are dimensions.
Dimensions. Okay.
Okay. The dimension that we live with is the third dimension. And KRS he's a rapper, he does a really brilliant job with he shows the audience the word rocket and says, well, rock star. And
Rock star.
You can find this on YouTube, everybody. He holds up the word rock star and he says to the audience, I want you to say this word, but I don't want you to open your mouth. I don't want you to vocalize. So he says, no, just do it. Just say this word to yourself. And then when he's done, he says, so you heard yourself say that, right? And they're all going, oh yeah. And he goes, and whose voice did you hear? You didn't move your mouth.
Yeah.
And then he says, and how did you hear it? It wasn't verbal, wasn't outside of you. So something else is going on there. He proceeds to explain that the third dimension is up, down, up, down, back, forth, that kind of thing. But he says never inside, outside.
Mm.
So he makes a really clear case, much better than what I just did. And so you should check him out on YouTube.
And say his name again for everyone.
It's KRS. He's a famous rapper. Just put in KRS and Rockstar.
KRS and the Rockstar story. It is brilliant. He's brilliant. And he really does bring it home. And it's the same with, when you watch people with their NDE stories, their near-death experiences, where they're outside their body and they're totally themselves. It's like, here I am, and they don't, it is fully them. But then they're looking down at this body that they don't even identify with. They're like, there's something going on with that person. And then they realize, oh, that's me. But they're not attached to that body at all. And then they start to learn, oh my gosh, that's the part I'm playing this time around, so it all kind of comes together. But it's very similar to that you really learn that, who is that? Well, it's you. And so you have this earthly self, and then you have this soul self. Yeah.
Well, Eckhart Tolle does a really brilliant piece with that too, about the two voices that you'll hear. One is your ego and one is your soul.
Right. So,
and we've played around with those images forever, but he does a really nice job of making that clear that when you quiet the ego, all you're going to listen to is the soul. And I think that's what KRS is trying to get at with that. But
recognizing the two separate entities there.
Right. But
almost, yeah.
I mean, people who have worked in hospice, Lane had worked in hospice 30 years. It was really common that they would see the other side as they were getting ready to pass. So how does that happen, And then we've got lots of evidence now. Isaac Stevenson's early work, Brian Weiss's work about children who can see their previous lives, before the 6 or 7, that they can do that kind of stuff. So there's lots of research now that shows all that. I think what you were alluding to earlier was the work that I think his name is Richard Panik. Yes. In his book, he wrote the book, The 4% Universe. And he provides scientific evidence that Einstein was right. Reality is merely an illusion. And so a lot of people talk about that, but I think what I really want to say to you, as well as the audience, is that people will dismiss the psychic medium channeling stuff as we're just making it up, are the people who don't understand that 96% of what's around us we cannot access with the third dimension. So instead of making fun of people who can do this, it's to understand that some of us have more access than others. But of course, what you spend a lot of time showing people is that we all have access.
We all have access.
Panik says only 4% of all matter makes up our three-dimensional world. The remaining unseeable 96% is made up of dark matter and dark energy, which is Earth, Sun, Moon, stars, planets, galaxies, black holes, and space.
I just want to make it clear here, when you're saying dark matter here, it doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean scary. It just means
no. It's a bad name. But matter and energy. It's unseeable with this vehicle. So it's the force that holds planets and galaxies together, and it's responsible for expanding the universe. We can't see with our eyes the particles or the matter or the energy that make up all existence and the universe. So, and at least there are some very famous physicists out there who will talk about this, and have been studying this for some time. Lisa Randall's right up at the top of the list. But Richard Panik is one of those people who can really spell it out in a way that is more accessible to the average person. But when you start to study the quantum field,
Mhm.
Lynn McTaggart's another one who's done a great deal of work with that. And what they've done is both repeat studies. Where'd you go?
I just wanted to turn off the heater real quick.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a weird experience. Okay. So anyway,
Sorry,
so
guys.
talking about dark matter, and suddenly there was dark matter.
Suddenly it was dark.
Whoa. Yeah. Anyway.
I start heating up in the
Yeah.
I start heating up because I'm obviously the energy's
Yeah.
shifting in here.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it's one of those, it's a connection to knowledges. These knowledges have been around since Einstein. So we're talking years and years.
Right. This is not new.
And it's not mainstream. We're still living in the moment of Newtonian physics, which is much more three-dimensional. But what was happening in quantum physics was something that was much more amorphous. And they had studies, the quantum of the double slit experiment. There's other experiments that are very famous out there that make the connection that there is a whole lot of stuff available to us, but it's not seeable with the senses we have. And so what many
When you
people
talk about seeing with the senses we have, now here's the deal, guys. It's what we can conceive. Our senses of what it's what we conceive. It's in our narrative, right? So when something's outside of our narrative, because we try to fill in the blanks, right? When you read a story and you're visualizing it, you're filling in those blanks, right? You're reading the story, you're getting visualizations, you have the characters all dressed a certain way in your mind, they look a certain way, you create this, you input this, you fill in the blanks, we fill in the blanks with what we have in our dictionaries, right, in our references. If it's outside of our reference, it could be right in front of us and we wouldn't be able to see it because it's not in our it's not in our reference. We don't have a reference for it. So literally, that's why when I said we would look outside and literally see, ships in the sky and the elementals doing their thing out there and all this activity and spirits here and there, we would see that, but we don't because it's not in our. We can't conceive it. We don't have reference for it.
Well, I want to go back to what you said, what you and Kim have said repeatedly, about that the veil is thinning. That veil is what stands between this dimension and being able to see these other dimensions. And the people who can are psychics, intuitives, mediums, spiritualists, telepaths, past life regressionists, channelers, shamans. Now think about how many people we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about how this is going on forever.
Forever.
So this isn't something new, something somebody just uncovered, oh, we just happened to see a UFO. Oh, really? They just appeared, right? Or an extraterrestrial. Oh, they just made themselves visible? No, I don't think so. I think these are entities, these are energies that have been here forever. So
100%. And that, so then you have these, and then you can take it to like, Einstein and his best friend, Tesla. He's laughing. So these brilliant minds, these brilliant thinkers who were able to conceive something higher or outside our 3D.
Or they intuited it.
They intuited it. Whatever way they were listening and they were able to connect in and conceive it. And so it's just about, are you willing to expand? Are you willing to step in and expand your 3D thought or your 3D conceptualization of what the world is? Or are you open to there's more? I can tell you, and I'm not saying this to set myself apart. It just is. It just is part of who I was from the very beginning. And Chrys was like this as well, asking a lot of questions, because always feeling there was more, or there's a bigger picture here, or there's more to this. This doesn't feel right. There's more to this. There's always more than what this is just such an iota piece of what is actually the truth, or what's happening around us in the world, in the universe. There's always more. You're taught this, you go to, you're sent to church, you're taught this. No, I feel like there's more to this. You know what I mean? This is only part of the story. So always asking those questions. And I know a lot of the family here, you recognize this in yourselves, that you were always that person that kind of, I think there's more to this. You know what I mean? So you could conceptualize a bigger picture that will help you with this moving out of that 3D space and opening up to this thinning veil, and seeing more, experiencing more.
Hey, everybody, it took her a long time to get to this. And she's had it there all along. When you move from the third dimension you have to expand. Okay, and you've used that word before. So it has to be expansion. What do we mean by expansion? It means doing the work you're doing right now. The courses you're teaching, the work you're doing is you showing us, oh, let it in. Let it all in. Don't shut it down. Don't block it. Thousands of people are now meditating. People are having all sorts of unusual experiences when they meditate. This is what you're able to do. It's been socialized out of you. Right?
There you go. There's the word.
Little children come into life and we tell them right away, oh no, you're making that up. Don't have imaginary friends, right? I mean, I used to have ships that came out of the wall in the bathroom when I was a little kid. And I would say, okay, I want you to go check this out over here. Like, what? So somebody's saying, no, don't do that. So and then we do stupid stuff like what's happening with the trans stuff right now, right? We're telling little children, oh no, you can't wear dresses, little boy, because what? Because what? Crinoline's going to destroy your brain. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But to move from the third dimension to another dimension means allowing yourself to open, to feel, to see as much as you can see, to meditate, to let in what you can let in, and to try and vibrate at a much higher level. And so the vibrations at the highest level are gratitude and love and all the good stuff. The more you can get there, the more you can say, and I was doing it today. I was saying, I've got pain in my back. So I'm going to be thankful for the pain in my back. I'm going to try and live in gratitude for the pain in my back and say, aren't I blessed that I have this pain that tells me to be careful? Right? So, we have to shift how we do things to open more, to be able to see the elementals and the fairies, and be able to see the yetis and all of that. And the more we expand, the more we allow that and those energies to connect, the more we open to these other dimensions, the more those other dimensions will meet us, the more they will be there. It's not an accident. There are some people who can read the Akashic record, which is at a much higher dimension than we live at. So how do they access that? And you can
from going within.
Yeah.
Connecting in with your soul self.
And the soul is at that expanded dimension.
Exactly.
The soul doesn't live in the 3D. So, that's the these are the ways we've been it's been socialized out of us. In many ways, we've been silenced. My mantra. I mean, I had a moment today with someone who was doing work here who was talking about politics, and it was a horrible moment. And I was just sitting here going, "Oh God, not here! No, not these people." And realizing that this is the way we shut all that stuff down, and the media helps us with that. They socialize us to, if it bleeds, it leads. So we end up sort of looking for demons under every rock, and people doing horrible things, and lots of people dying. And it's like, no, there's a whole other world here. So the work to do, really, I think I'm going on a tangent here, but the work to do here is to really try and vibrate at the highest level we can. And you brought that up about, the Trump stuff, and know that's an exemplar of vibrating at the lowest possible dimension.
And it offers an opportunity. I was talking earlier just, about how do we, okay, first of all, recognizing that, get this, you guys, I mean, literally, there's 96% that we don't maneuver from. We only maneuver from 4%. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So we have 96% that we can dive into that we don't. So, and again, to start opening that 96% is, first of all, recognizing there is 96% more to dive into, right? And so then the next part is to go, okay, and I am open. I am open to this. I'm open to this expansion. I'm open to understanding that I can't conceive everything, but I'm open to you helping me conceive, my higher self helping me, your spirit team helping me conceive that there is more. Help me with this. And they can help you with it in your dreams. Like if you're like, oh, I can't even conceive of a spaceship, from another place. I can't have them visit you in your dreams so you can start conceiving it, right? So ask for that conception to start coming in for you. So then that can open it up here, because you can wrap your 4% around it, right? So let's make it 5%. You can wrap that 5%, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, the Richard Panic book, where he talks about the 4%. And he says, he says, if that only 4% of our existence is visible with the naked eye, well, what if you're blind? And how many times have we learned that people who are blind can actually see?
100%. Wow.
And people who are deaf can actually hear. On The Voice this season is a woman who was born deaf, and she's singing. Wow. She's feeling in her body the sound, the vibration. These are the ways this stuff's been socialized out of us. And
we are being
really put it back in. And when we put it back in, we're going to learn a whole lot. And a whole lot's going to change.
So when we get around, so as this whole family together, we ask these questions. We, our grief, living out this experience, and all the things that we face here in this human experience, and troubleshooting that. And we've been talking about that in the discussions, and what it looked like, and how did I overcome that, and how did you overcome that, and talking our stories and doing those things. And those are all important because it's part of your story, right? But again, how can we do it better? How do we, and this is just, it's busting out of these boxes again, right? Going back to the boxes. Was that our first conversation? We were talking about the boxes, right? literally, we're still busting out of boxes. Our 4% is a box. It's what we can conceive, but there's so much more outside that box. There's so much, there's 96. I won't get over that, you guys. So I'll keep coming back to that. So we need to bust out of that box. And part of that is remembering. So again, you hear us talk, you hear me talk about it, you hear Krista. It's about remembering. So as we're here having this experience, trying to remember who we are at the same time.
I think you raised a question earlier.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember exactly what it was as we were talking before we went on. About the 4% and the 96%. And you made the connection between that and the way in which things like politics drag us out of that.
Right. So, so how do we, when we are faced with our earthly challenges here, like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene's, and the Trumps and some of the more challenging energies for some of us, how can we do it better, acknowledging that we have 96% more of conceptualized love and awareness and understanding to draw from than our regular 4%.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before that Lynn McTaggart published a book called The Power of Eight, and they had done these experiments with 8 people who meditated on a particular issue, like crime in the streets kind of thing, and they focused on a particular area, and they would say things like, we're gonna focus on no crimes are committed in this town for the next 24 hours. And so they focused on that, and there was no crime for 20. So they did a whole series of these. So it's now called The Power of Eight. You can do it with less or more people, but 8's a really functional area. But that's transmitting that energy through the 96%.
Right. This field of
so you and I were talking about how do I communicate this to students? It's like, well, how did you get that voice on your phone?
Yeah. How does this work?
Right. And
it's not plugged into anything.
And how does your radio signal come in? It comes in through this energy field. It is, and then take a look at one transformative moment is looking at the images the Webb telescope's bringing in. And of course, scientists are like blown away by the fact that they're actually looking into billions of light years and literally thousands, if not more, galaxies that exist out there and have existed for billions of years.
Right.
So are we kidding ourselves? Why would we think we're all there is? We're not. And, and now there's a significant amount of evidence that not only did we have a minimum of 7 species that were humanoid on this planet, but that some of them just vanished.
Wow.
And now there's also evidence that this planet was created by beings from other parts of the universe. So, it starts to challenge the very foundations. We fight over things like religion, like, Jesus saved us. No, Jesus didn't exist. We do all that sort of stuff. And then we talk about, no, it's Muhammad. No, it's not Muhammad. We do all that. And those are literally seconds in the history of this planet.
Piece of sand.
And not the only enlightened beings that were here. And not the only knowledges that were shared. So, why are we stuck here? Why are we? And it really comes down, I think it does, comes down to power.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about patriarchy for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to patriarchal power.
Mm-hmm.
If the minute that breaks down, suddenly the argument for why we should have it in the first place falls apart. So it's dangerous to see the 96%.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that, because when I was I was talking to Einstein, you guys. When I was in, okay, so he's coming back into, but when I was talking to him earlier, he said that there are some brilliant thinkers in your time. And he said the difference between his time and now is that the fight to provide that information out is not as hard. So you're not fighting through such a 3D thought. You're not fighting through the religious beliefs, that literally, he's showing me, hundreds and thousands of brilliant, advanced thinkers and spiritualists, and being burned at the stake, right? Because they're like, there's gravity. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, the devil, like that. So he said it's better now. You still have some of those closed doors, but he says the enemy is different. It's from pride. And you have to, the enemy for the brilliant thinkers now is more pride from another brilliant thinker. So you're having that kind of thing go down. And so if you don't have the money, the backing, and then this pride issue coming in at the same time he's talking about, I'm not sure where it all fits because I don't have the whole context here. However, he said that's the enemy these days. So your life isn't at risk, but you might not be hurt if you don't have the money and the group, the popular group behind you, so to speak. So whoever that popular group is, he keeps showing me what's his name, who went to the moon recently in that phallic symbol. What's his name?
And what?
he made a rocket ship that looked like a phallic symbol and went to the moon, or went to space. What's his name?
You're talking about Elon Musk?
Yeah, Musk. He's showing me Musk. And so here's a good example of someone who has some brilliance, but mostly there's way more brilliant people than him, he's saying, but they don't have the money or the popular, I don't know. Again, out of context for me, but something about the popular group behind him. The people who are running the world, he said. The underneath running the world people, whoever they are. So that's what you're up against these days, but it's there. Now, I feel like I missed the question about what you said.
Who, me?
I think you said something and I missed the answer there for you to answer that question.
How do we, well, I want to just a footnote. Scientists have never been able to understand how gravity works. Just for the record.
Okay.
No scientific evidence about how gravity works. Okay. So while we think, oh yeah, they're brilliant, they know everything. The basic thing that holds this planet together, they don't know how it works. So just keep that in mind, that
Very
we have
interesting.
a lot to figure out here too.
I'm being shown the center of the earth, and there's something there.
It's a core, and they just recently discovered that there's an additional core they didn't know about.
Okay, yeah, because I'm seeing several layers here, but there's and you would think that it was huge, but I don't sense that it's like a huge thing. It's like, yeah,
tiny ball.
They just showed me that, you guys. They just,
yeah.
So I love hanging out here with Albert here. I feel really half smart. He's laughing. That's funny.
Yeah, but I think probably he'd be the first to say that he intuited, in addition to studying this stuff, he intuited things that others didn't.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, the line of the sequence of information seemed to flow for him. It was very much like intuitively flowing in. It's like it just made sense. It just came in for him. However, he also is saying that he understands that he was receiving information as well from somewhere else.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So he understood that as well. But he also understood that he saw that he was able to see it. He's equating it to Beethoven sitting down and create. He just saw the sequence of notes. It just came to flow like if you were into writing music, it comes in and flows easily for you. He was naturally like that. However, he's saying you all can tap in and receive the information. Like he's saying he was able to receive information. The natural spot where it might be a little bit more challenging for those who, he said there's a lot of naturals. It wasn't just him. He's not the only person ever. He's like, I'm like this big compared to most of the brilliant minds. But he's saying, but you can. Everyone can step in and receive an understanding. As far as writing it out like a musical symphony, it might be a little more challenging because you don't have that intuitive natural ability like he had, as far as bringing this information in and understanding it and watching it just kind of come forward on the blackboard. So he lived and breathed this. He also loved. He says he loved passionately. He lived in the energy of love. Now, not all it came, it wasn't at the beginning, but that changed everything for him. Everything.
So when you are in the highest vibration, which is love, and you do your work at the same time.
Exactly.
Then you have opened the field up, because the field responds to vibration. Remember, Kirlian photography can photograph the aura.
Right.
Okay. Remember that we all have these toroidal fields that are all around us. And you brought this up in class recently about, that you can spread it out. And Power of Eight's the same thing. I mean, the higher your vibration, the more you're accessing the energy from that 96%, right? So if you're an Einstein and you're focused primarily on one particular area, that opening is going to help you bring in those knowledges. I wrote a book that my students read, and when they said to me, "What does this paragraph mean?" I said, "I have no idea. I don't even remember writing that." When artists do their artwork, when musicians write songs, they will frequently say stuff is coming into them. They don't say they did it themselves, it came out of their ego, that they receive it. Sometimes they wake up with it in the morning, sometimes, that's That's the energy. That's no different than what you're doing when you do psychic medium stuff. That's not any different. It's opening that up so that you can connect to it. It's not just perceive, it's connect to it. And connect to it with what it was you came to do. Right? If you came to write music, that's what you're going to connect. If you came to do science, that's what you're going to do. If you came to write books, that's how it's going to come through.
Exactly.
So you're going to take what you got here, connect it to what's there, and it emerges. And some people,
you're connecting into like the not only your higher self that is connected to the collective, right? And then in your spirit team, which I call spirit team, but you have the support system when you're having this experience here. Now he's bringing in someone that he was connected to, Chrys, and I am curious to know, because I have zero context, and I'm trying to figure out this word that he's saying.
yes.
But he said Arthurian Universe.
Arthurian or Arcturian?
Oh. No, again, I'm trying to pull this word, but I heard him say Arthurian the Arthurian Universe. Now that could have Arcturians in it, but there's an Arthurian Universe he's talking about. And this is where when I asked him, like, I know that you said you were connected and where you got information from, and he took me to this Arthurian Universe. I always feel like I'm making up words when I get stuff like this.
No, I think
you guys see, out of my conceptual, but I'm open. I'm open to learning and being open to whatever's coming in, right? And so he was able to bring in this word, the Arthurian Universe. Maybe Arcturians live there.
No, it's the same word.
Oh, okay.
It's the same word. It's the same word. It's some people pronounce it Arthurian, some people pronounce it Arcturian. It's the same word.
Oh, well, he has an accent, so it makes sense.
Yes. Well, so go back to where we were a few weeks ago when we were bringing in Mata.
Yeah.
And Mata said she was Arcturian, and it's
Oh
what
my
I
gosh,
said
yeah.
today when we were talking about this before we went on, and I said maybe we should ask the Arcturians to come in and explain.
Well, then he just
and
he just
but
did.
that's not the first time. Other people have said he was connected to ETs, and so was Tesla. So
okay, well, there you go. See, I'm out of my box, you guys. Out of my box. It's interesting because when he's showing me and I'm seeing a particular being that maybe he worked with, it kind of does remind me of what Mata looked like. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
I think the Arcturians have particular specialization that's that sort of lends itself to the sciences a lot.
He said that's how he learned to love as well.
Yeah.
To step into the energy of the pure love, the energy of love, not the earthbound love.
Do you remember what she said to you about love?
No. I have to go back and listen.
I'm trying. I know she said it's not what we think it is.
Mm.
She said it's not the way we talk about it. We talk about it like romance and
right.
She said it's not like that at all. It's a much higher, much more it's a much higher vibration. It's much more pure.
Mm-hmm. And I'm saying they now because now I have a group of people here. They like that you say vibration here with the love, because that's our word for it, right? Love. We have amore, we have love, we have all the different language how you say love, but that's just how we can. That's our box for it. right? But literally it is a vibration. It's the highest vibration. And there really is no word that can contain it. It only helps us understand what we're kind of talking about.
And we really, I think we don't really know what it is.
Yeah, no, but we're getting bits and pieces in there, and I am super hot right now.
Well, because you're in that.
I feel like I'm going to combust with the energy moving right now, and it's freezing in here.
I know, but when you think about like, I'm going to do some really loving things today, as if,
right.
And that's not love. That's you trying to be in that energy.
And that's okay too. I mean, that feels good.
Yeah,
that feels good.
You're raising your frequency up.
It's
but
more kindness. Is that what you're doing? Is kindness? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think, I'm remembering a moment months ago. I was talking to you. I think we were on Marco or something, and I said, I just feel bliss today. Right?
Yeah,
it was just bliss. It was pure.
And I'm in love with everyone. You said
everything.
And everything. I'm in love.
That was it. That was the vibration. Oh boy, that's a fleeting moment. Because then life,
life happens. And then so how do we return to that?
That's the question.
When life happens. That's the big question.
Some people think it's that you don't tune into the noise. And I'm not sure that that's it. I mean,
interesting. So, but I feel like, we're here to have this experience. So I'm not sure we're supposed to sidestep every challenge that comes our way. I feel like we're here to experience some of these challenges. And I can speak to my own experience just recently, having this surgery and not being able to have pain medication and understand, they just went in 4 different areas, did surgery in 4 different areas and went into your body and took an organ out, right? So it's a literal deal, right? But there was the amount of pain was pretty how do you say it? Impressive. The pain was impressive, guys. And when I was in the moments, I said, okay, I have an opportunity with this pain. Literally, I'm in pain. Like I'm vomiting. I mean, the pain was intense, right? And I thought, okay, I'm in charge here. I'm in charge of how I'm going to respond to this pain. I can either react to it and scream or whatever you do when you react and shake and vomit because you're reacting to the pain, right? Or I can respond to it. So in those moments where it would be where you can't catch your breath, I decided, okay, I'm in charge. I'm going to move into it, and I'm moving towards the pain instead of trying to, because I can't get away from it really, because it's right on there, right? So I'm going to move into it. I'm going to take this opportunity to move towards this pain, move into it, go, okay, I got this. Oh, and then all of a sudden, it wasn't overwhelming me. It was still the same pain, but it wasn't overwhelming me because I'm like, oh, I'm moving into it. I'm no longer trying to avoid this. And then I had the will, and I was able to move through some of those excruciating moments where it would take your breath away and respond in moving into it. I don't know how to explain it except that I had control.
You're doing it. I think, there are cultures where they talk about that.
Okay.
Where they talk about sort of being in your pain,
being in it. Yeah.
And flowing with it.
I flowed there. There you go. That's it. I'm going to flow through this with it instead of trying to push the river, because that doesn't help, does it? I'm going to flow with it.
No, your first reaction with that kind of pain, is to tense up, which makes it worse.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Then they tell you to, breathe deep,
breathe,
and so they're pushing you to sort of flow.
Yeah. So there
And
you
it's
go.
intense, I was going through the same thing.
There you go. So we of course we were having the same. I mean, we were having pain issues at the same time.
At the same time.
All that to say is, getting outside of our boxes again. There's more boxes here that we have these things that we try to contain these things in.
But love is the wisdom.
Love is the wisdom. Back to the love. Yes, love is the is the wisdom.
Is Albert still hanging around?
Well, I have several entities here that I'm not quite sure, with his energy is still here. But he's kind of melding into the rest of this energy that kind of came in after he was talking about the art. Or I have to look at the word I wrote down, the Arthurian Universe. So I'm hearing, ask and you shall receive, again, we are all beautifully unique, we're all extraordinary and unique, and we come here with beautiful purposes, right? Like you were saying earlier, whether it's to write a book, whether it's to be in service of someone or loved ones or someone else, or whatever it is that you're here, you're uniquely extraordinary is the word I'm hearing here. And remember that. You forget that. The world tries to take that away from you all. The challenges you face, it just kind of try to, all the words that go around, and the constant, what you would call noise, and the now with the access to the internet and constant flashes of things going through, and your brain is picking up, it's just so much information, and most of it is trying to keep you in a box of some sort, or in a narrative that's not right,
or in the 3D,
or there you go, in the 3D,
and not paying attention to your soul. Yes. And not paying attention.
It's a brainwash. So to help you with that is, before you get on and you're starting to scroll through your social medias, and and you're being flashed for these commercials and the social medias and the so forth, just ask for a clarity and awareness of it, and blocking any vibration that does not suit you before you step into your social media for the day. Yeah. You have I heard 3 things here at once. You have the reins, you have the wheel, and and you have the stick. So whatever, you have the buttons. So there's 4 things that came in. But basically, you're in charge of you, and
I think that's going to be a book chapter.
There you go.
You have the reins, you have the stick, you have the buttons. That's going to be the title.
You have the wheel. Yeah,
the wheel. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, I just heard, and you have the thought.
Yeah. Yeah. and remembering.
I think that's how they, maybe, is that how they drive their, is that how people drive their vehicles, just by thinking? Okay, so there you go.
Well, I'm remembering what you said in class about the third eye is your psychic.
Mhm.
And the crown chakra, and we haven't talked about chakras at all, but the crown chakra is your connection to the field.
The field, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Are you okay?
yeah, I just,
You had a lot of activity there.
yeah, that was fun. Albert and his best friend Tesla.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor. They actually, he's showing me them shaking hands. So, whatever it was here is not like that there, of course, he's saying, but he had to bring in that energy of here. So we understood. But yeah,
Has he met Eleanor?
Tina. Yes, he's showing that they have they have met. It's kind of like where you would, well, they show me so I understand, so who knows what it really looked like, but it's almost like a big convention where everybody was together. For listening, like almost like a think tank is what I would assume this kind of thing would be. But of course, there's a massive amount of people here. Lots of names that we would never have known, but they were think tankers. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay, well, so I feel like I just want to encourage the family here to remember there's 96%.
Well, to notice
Yeah.
Notice that there are things that you access regularly. Synchronicity is an example, right? The phone rings and you were just thinking about that person and there they are. That's outside the 3 dimension. That's outside. That's you accessing. And there's lots of evidence of those things.
Yes. Keep an eye out on those in your own life and expand. Yeah. Well, I hope everyone found some joy in today's discussion. And I know it's a little different than some of our others, but I just, it was something that really was tapping, and I thought, okay, this will be helpful as we move forward to always kind of understand, okay, so we're just dealing with this from a 4% of ourselves. How can we grab on some more to deal with this situation, right? And how does that look? What does that look like? And
I call this preparing the field.
Preparing the field. There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
Field. First, you have to know it exists. Then you have to get ready to accept it and make the connection, right? So you're preparing the field. That's the name of the first chapter.
There you go. Preparing the field. I love it. Preparing the field. Love it. So I'm so interested in hearing comments this week in regards to this discussion, again, because I know it was a little different. But love to hear your thoughts, preparing the field and all that. So any last words, Chrys? We'll say goodbye.
Any last words? Love, period. Accept the challenge to find out what that vibration really is.
Yes. All right. Love you guys. And until next time, love.